With our post-race press conference, we're now joined by Joey Logano, winner of today's Duck Commander 500, driver of the number 22 Shell Pennzoil Hertz Ford. It's his first career victory at Texas Motor Speedway. Your third consecutive top 5 finish here at Texas. Third win in Sprint Cup Series competition for Team Penske here. Ironically, Roger was inducted in the Texas Motorsports Hall of Fame earlier this week, and now you're the 7th different winner in the first 7 races of the Sprint Cup Series schedule. Talk about those last couple laps and just the emotions that you ran through there at the end.
Yeah, it was, man, when you got like 40-something laps after the last pit stop and you got a pretty sizable lead, really all you're thinking is, where's the white flag? Where's the white flag? And, Brad was able to catch us a little bit. And then you go into turn 1 and you see the 41 up against the wall. And you're like, please no caution, please no caution. And of course, boom, it comes out and you're like, you gotta be kidding me. So you get so mad that you can barely control yourself, or at least for me. And, I had to, make sure I stayed calm and tried to give Todd the information I needed to. And then he had to make the right call. And really, like you said, I was so mad. And I didn't really tell him what the car did until I was coming down pit road. And he kind of made a last-minute decision to, put fuel in it. Because I heard no fuel, and I was like, oh, no, I was tight. So he made the right change there last minute to put some fuel in the car, give me a better balance for what I needed. And the guys made the money stop and put us out as the first car with 4 tires on. Restarted third. And at that point, I got Kyle Busch on the outside of me, and I know he's very aggressive on restarts. He's very good on restarts, and my number one goal at that point was to try to figure out how to make sure he doesn't get clean air and get to the front, because he was the other car at 4 tires. So I had to make sure he didn't stick it 3 wide and get in the middle or do something like that. And then the 24 is, lucky enough to have a good enough restart with those older tires. I was able to follow him through, get the second, get a good run off of 4, cross him over, take the lead, and then you get to that feeling again. We get the win. So just as awesome. We've been in contention every race this year to win these things, and to get the Shell Pennzoil Ford in victory lane, it means a lot because it's such a tough racetrack, and we have plenty of time to think about this over the last couple of days. So really cool place to win. They give you a ring, I got guns, I got a trophy, I got a hat, I got duck call.
Duck call, yeah.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
We're also joined by winning crew chief Todd Gordon. Todd, talk again the emotions and then the decision to take 4 tires there at the end.
I just, Joey did a good job communicating all day, and we had some work to do to get ourselves better. First half of the race, once we got rolling there, the second half of the race, knew that we had a lot of speed, and we kind of looked at the fuel windows of what was going to happen. And when we made the last stop there around 300, we immediately started the conversation of how many laps into the run do we take tires, and it was, my number was 8, and then we also had the conversation of, if it comes down, how late do we come, and we said green, white, checkered. So we kind of made that decision before we got to that point, and really, it's because it takes the emotion out of the decision.
Glad to know you guys weren't eating ice cream up there. That's good.
Yeah, I didn't have an ice cream at all today. I do like ice cream. It's had that decision made before it came, and then it just became when the caution, you're watching a 41, and it's like slow motion on the TV. He's coming down. There's nothing coming off yet. Don't throw it. Don't throw it. Okay, it's out. All right, come on for 4 tires. So I'd rather have Joey playing aggressive offense than playing defense. And that was the call, and I think the right call, especially with how much drive we had off the corner. I thought Joey had a really good line and was able to really kind of get himself squirted off the corner, and 4 tires worked. It's one of those gut check calls. You kind of have to think a little bit ahead, and we did, and it worked out for us.
Want to open up for questions, Jim?
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. We're often told you keep qualifying up front, you keep running up front, eventually you'll put yourself in position to win races. You and Brad have both been doing that pretty much all season. Does it get a little frustrating when you keep doing it week after week and don't end up in victory lane? Or do you maintain,
Yeah.
or does it help to stay positive just because you're running well week after week?
Both. It's frustrating when you have winning cars and you didn't capitalize on it. That's frustrating. On the flip side of that, you got winning cars, and it's a lot better than struggling to finish 10th. So I'm proud of that. So you're able to ride that momentum of having fast race cars at every racetrack. You look at Martinsville, we had a top 5 car. California we did, Bristol we did, Phoenix we did. All these tracks we've been in contention and been up there, and I'm proud to be a part of that. I'm glad to drive this race car, and this team's been doing a great job. I tell you, they've been giving me what I need to go out there and win these things. And you never know when it will end of having great race cars. So when you have those opportunities like today or like we've had this year so far, you need to capitalize on it. And obviously these wins being so important this year to get into the chase, to have both Team Penske cars with a win already, and that's big. And both of us are up there in points, so we feel good about that. And you can kind of start getting your ducks in a row for chase time, and making sure you get everything ready for then, and you're not, playing on the backside of your foot trying to, win a race, a couple races before Richmond. You feel a little bit more comfortable now than what we would have been.
Bob?
Bob Hunker, Sporting News. For both of you, do you, after the issues that you had in California, do you have to do anything specific or special just to make sure you don't kind of wig out on what the tires are going to be or what's going to happen with them and almost psych yourself out before getting here this weekend?
You want me to answer that to start with?
Yeah, you go ahead.
We had a couple issues at California, and we had 2 in practice, and but I think the biggest part is as a whole organization, I think we make a lot of decisions based off of at Team Penske. We make a lot of decisions based off of facts and looking and analyzing what we've got, and we understood the issues that were there, and I talked to Goodyear a lot about where I make decisions to jeopardize our longevity and where I can change that, and I think we did a lot of investigation to know what the issues were and what we could do to help alleviate them, and we didn't overreact. I think as you look, there were issues at California, but really I think the issues here were limited to one, and when you get to that, usually that doesn't fall on anybody other than that particular situation. So I think we were cognizant of where we were versus the limit, and I thought we played that smart.
I don't really have much to add to that. He kind of knew what we had to do to make sure our car made it, and it's always a balancing act because you want to have all the speed in your car you can, but you got to have that longevity and that reliability in your car, and that means you have to take a little bit of performance out of the car. And I felt like this week was obviously way smoother than California. You look at the green flag stops and very limited tire issues today, I think, at all. So Goodyear brought us something that was, I feel like, it was reliable. Yes, we were worried about it, but at the same time, we were able to run hard the whole run. As a driver, I ran hard the whole run and really didn't have an issue.
I'd like to add to that just thank Goodyear for the information that they're willing to give to everybody. I think they did they identified that this would be another place that they could be up against a limit, and they made sure that there was enough information disseminated to everybody to make good decisions. And I talked to Rick Campbell myself. I think they've done an awesome job of trying to handle making sure that we have the best show out there.
Holly?
Holly Kane, NASCAR.com. Joey, could you talk a little bit about your teammate Brad? Obviously, what was your reaction when you heard he got the speeding penalty? He had been the guy right on your heels, or bumper, I guess it would be, for most of the race. And how good was he? How concerned would you have been had he been right there?
I feel like he was the second best car. So he was going to be our main competition there, I thought, in that restart. And, it's you don't have much time to think about other people's stuff that's going on, especially when you're coming to a green-white checker and you have a shot at winning this thing. You hear about it and say, okay, I know I'm lining up against someone else. Really, we didn't even discuss it. You just told me, hey, Brad got a speeding penalty. I don't think I even said anything. I was just like, okay, that means I'm lining up against Kyle. I'm just started running all the scenarios in my mind and figuring out what I have to do to get the best restart, because this is what the race comes down to. And we talk about it all the time. You need to be able to restart to win races. And we feel like we've been one of the strongest cars on restarts and able to capitalize on it today.
Jerry?
Jerry Fairley, Dallas Morning News for Todd, please. Todd, you said you wanted your man playing aggressive offense. Is that something from the first day, or is that reflective of the situation with the chase this year?
I think, Joey's really, really good when he can be aggressive. If you look at, like he talked about, if you look
And when
at
I'm really mad.
that's good too. But when you get to restarts, when we put him in a position to be aggressive, he can be aggressive, and he knows what he needs to do with his race car to capitalize. And he gets after it. And I didn't want to put him out there with a situation where he didn't have a left rear to drive off a turn two. Two tires. I watched it last year. Brad did it in last year's race and cycled himself forward. But I felt like I feel like you give your driver the best opportunity to capitalize, especially if it's. Joey's really good at capitalizing on restarts. He's one of the best. I don't know that I can put anybody beyond him. So I didn't want to handicap him with where he's most talented.
Carlos?
Joey, you talked about the last stages of the race and your thoughts. Are you? What's your personality like as a front runner? Are you nervous? Are you talkative? And Todd, what do you do to manage a 23-year-old's emotions there with a chance to win?
I can't wait to hear his answer. But my personality, when my car is good, I'm not talking much, and I feel like my car is pretty good. And I had plenty to say when the caution came out, but nothing real productive. So, once I tried to stay as calm as I could. Like you said, I'm young. I want to, I got a lot of fire in me. I get mad, and as I feel like I should, and as any competitive person would. But I also stayed calm enough to, keep my eyes on the prize and do what I had to do to get back in the situation to be sitting here right now.
To the second part of your question, I guess my job's pretty easy because I think Joey and I both kind of share a passive attitude. Neither one of us gets very fired up. We don't get emotional and tied into that, and I think that's part of what makes us successful because there's never, even when our car's junk, we're always communicating. We always talk. It never gets, there's never me against you. I think we do that well, and the only thing I could do there through the last run was I'm just gonna make sure that there's something that's rhythmic to him. I'm gonna give him lap times off of turn two, and then we got to a point where I quit giving him lap times. I just gave him the separation, so that he had something that was in his ear, so he didn't feel alone. But just what your separation to P2 is and how you maintain it, and because at that point lap times don't matter. It doesn't. We're not looking to make our car better. We're looking to make sure that we win the race. So just try to give him that consistent off turn two separation to second, and let him focus on what he was doing because he does an awesome job at finishing these things.
I feel like Todd and I feel like we talk to each other as a driver-crew chief relationship probably more than anyone else in this garage. I feel like I might annoy him because I come in the shop and I basically sit in his office and he fills me in everything that's going on, and the more I could feel like I know about a race car, the better race car driver I can be. And we just we go to lunch, we just hang out, and really it's, a lot of it's about race cars, but I consider him a friend of mine, and we talk about everything, and work things out. And anytime there's an issue between us or whatever happened in the race, we talk it out. You don't let anything go too far, and I feel like our attitudes are very similar, very like I said, similar to each other, and the way we handle certain situations and stuff like that.
Woody came with MRI, and this one's for Todd. Joey touched on it a little bit earlier, and we've asked a lot of drivers about once you get that win, how things change. But from a crew chief's perspective, how does that change your thinking now? He mentioned the sense of relief. Now, do you feel like you can kind of go for it a little bit more than you ordinarily would and not have to worry about protecting points so much?
Yes. The short answer to that question is yes. It's within reason. You can't be stupid about it, but it does open up your box to be a little more aggressive on how you call a race, and you can be a little more aggressive on how you tune a race. You know, and it allows you to be a little more, explorative of where. I mean, NASCAR's given us this huge open box for us to work in this year, more downforce and no ride heights, and the new shock spring rules and the new spring rules, and so the box is big, and we've kind of. I think we've had speed with where the path we've picked down that box that they give us, but that doesn't mean that path is the ultimate speed. That might only be 90%. We may be at 90 versus somebody else being 88, but there's another path that may be 95. So I think it does allow you to look at some more of those things, but we can't get too far out of that box of what's been successful for us. You'll find a balance between that, but it allows us to be a little more aggressive and maybe try a few things. But you still got to, you look at it, we're 7 races in, we're 7 winners. We got 26 races before we race a chase. If we continue this path, there will be 10 cars that win that don't make it. And you can't lose sight of that as well. I mean, history hasn't said that will happen, but you can't write that off as not happening. So you don't want to throw everything away and be reckless with it, but it does allow you to be a little more aggressive.
Bob?
Bob Packer, Sporting News. Joey, Brad said that this was huge because now you all can just plan your organizational tests around the chase and Homestead. And I was curious, how big a deal is that? I mean, were you concerned that we're going to have to blow a test, sometime in the next month, and now you can kind of wait?
We were concerned enough to talk about it Saturday after practice for a while. So that was, it's definitely a concern. We were, obviously trying to plan out how we're going to use these tests, and now that we're in a chase, we can use our tests a little differently than what we were thinking. So that's big. I mean, and the way you strategize to build race cars and what you need to do, and for when it comes chase time, like I said earlier, it allows you to give the right direction and be able to really focus on later in the season at this point. Not saying we're not going to work hard to win more races throughout the rest of the year. Like Todd said, we need to still run well and keep ourselves up in points and win some more races, and because you want to go into the chase with momentum. But as far as updating specs and stuff like that, we can start focusing on chase stuff.
Jim Hunter, Charlotte Observer. When Kyle Busch was in here earlier, he was asked kind of about your start to the season, and he said that I think Joey learned a lot over the years at JGR, but maybe never felt quite comfortable there, but he certainly has found a home at Penske. Those guys are really good. I was just wondering if you could explain a little bit what you think works so well for you where you are right now in your career.
There's a lot. I talked a little bit earlier about, the first time I came here, I think it was in that 02 car, and I ran absolutely terrible. I think I finished 38th, and I didn't hit anything. I didn't have an excuse for finishing 38th. I just ran that bad, and I didn't know what I was doing, and, you're 18 years old with, half a season, less than half a season of Nationwide under your belt, and you get thrown into a tough situation. But I didn't realize that at the time. And then, over the years, I've been able to, just kind of hone in of who I am as a driver, who I am as a person. Because when you're 18 years old, you gotta grow up. You're not quite done growing up at that point, and I may not be now, but I feel like I'm getting closer. When I was able to go to Team Penske, you kind of get that fresh start. And be able to take everything you've learned there, but you're not taken as the 18-year-old kid anymore. I came over when I was 22. You looked a little bit more as a man instead of an 18-year-old kid. It was still in high school. You know what I mean? So you're a completely different situation now, and I've been able to take advantage of that and kind of walk in the doors of Penske the first time and say, here's who I want to be. Here's what I want to do. And here's how I feel like we can win races and do it together. And, Todd and I have many discussions about all that and about how, how I feel like I need it to be. Because on the Nationwide side at JGR, I felt like I had that. But I didn't have it on the Cup side yet. I knew I had to have that same attitude I had in Nationwide and that same relationships and confidence on the Cup side for me to run well. And we've been able to, be able to do that, and you see the results show for that. So, I used to race a lot more confident and aggressive in a Nationwide car than I did in a Cup car. And now it's the same. You know, I'm here to win, and I feel like the competitors see that now. When you run up front enough, they don't look at you as a guy that's going to run up there once in every 10 races. You know, it's every single week right now, and we got to keep that going. It's a lot of hard work to keep that going, but to come here the first time and finish 38th to victory lane, 5-6 years later, it's pretty awesome. You know, I mean, it's I used to dread coming here, and now it's one of my favorite racetracks. I told Todd before we came here, I was like, man, I just feel like we're going to win this week. I felt really confident, and now I got a cool ring. And you know what's cool about this? My fiance got a ring when we got engaged, and now I got something too. That's pretty cool, see?
Yeah.
Brad Norman, NASCAR.com. For Todd, the Penske cars have been so good this year. Did you know as early back as the Charlotte test that you guys had something, or has it evolved as the season's gone on?
Man, I guess when you go back to the Charlotte test, when we did all the aero development, we had talked about the fact we had speed in our race cars. I think we Joey and I had talked about that. Did you know? No, you don't know, because I mean the 4-car was stupid fast at that point, and I attributed that. I think Rodney Childers is a I worked with him at Waltrip, so he's pretty sharp, and he had 4 months off to focus on this, and I felt like they made a jump, and that was enlightening to all of us of how much we needed to dig in, because they were that far ahead. But it's a testament to everybody at Team Penske, from every facet of the organization that dug in, and they've kept head down going forward. They're not looking back to, as Joey said, we've been in contention. We've been in the top 5 every race this year, but nobody's sitting back on their laurels and saying, we're good enough. So that's something that I think at Charlotte we had glimmers of it, but we kept focused on how do we make our stuff better. And the guys have done a phenomenal job. It's been a lot of non-traditional track testing. We've been a couple different places that are on our schedule, and trying to understand what happens with the packages we have, and where within this big box, like I talked about before, what path we want to go down. And I feel like Paul and I are on the same page. I feel like Brad and Joey are on the same page. And when you do that, we have a unified effort of where our race cars are going, and I think that shows every week.
I believe we have a question from the press box.
Joey, Matt Kreider, Denton Record Chronicle. How close were you to the white flag when you realized the caution was out?
Into three, my heart dropped, and I got really angry instantly. And then, I saw it happen off of 2. As slow as it was going, I didn't see nothing come off his car. So initially, when I saw the caution, I was like, "What's that for?" Like I didn't see anything what it was for. And I'm gonna come back around and see there's some door foam on the racetrack, which is whatever, not it's door foam, but caution was out. It was what it is at that point, and you got to go out there and win at that point and figure out how to do it.
And he did it.
That's right.
Any other questions?
Willie Martin, Blitz Weekly. Friday, you had a digging contest with Eddie Gossage to raise awareness of dialing 811 first. The fact that you dug out a win today, do you call 811 now?
That was good. Yes. You always call 811 before you dig. Know what's below, man.
Dustin.
Dustin Long, MRN.com, for either or both of you guys. Obviously, Team Penske, like I said, has been strong all year, certainly been dominant in the mile and a halves. We've gone a few races in. Who are the teams that are pushing you other than you guys? I mean, who's kind of stood out so far at this point?
I'll name off a few. I don't think you can write off anybody. For one, 'cause you never know what's going to happen. You never underestimate your competition. But
Stewart Haas.
Yeah, I'm going to say a lot of the Stewart Haas cars are really fast right now. The 14 was fast today, 41 last week. The 4 cars fast week in and week out. So they're quick. You never count out Hendrick cars. Roush cars have shown a lot of speed here recently. I think even the Petty cars have showed a lot of speed here recently. Mm-hmm. You look at the way they've been qualifying, and they ran really well in Martinsville last week. And like I said, you can't count anybody out. You got to go into the weekend thinking, hey, I'm racing 43 cars out there. And I think when you start getting a little overconfident or a little full of yourself, that's when you're going to get caught off guard. So to answer your question, I think everybody, but I'll let Todd go with that.
Yeah, I think you know it's hit or miss every week, but you know, you look at the guys that have won races. It's about every organization, and you know, it's as we talked about, the box is big enough that it doesn't take. People can recover, even if they're off a little bit. They're going to recover, and every week there's 15 cars out there that can win, and coming in the weekend you don't just focus on one, and you know, I'll say it. I wouldn't have picked Kurt to win Martinsville. It's not his favorite track. I think he's professed that himself. But they've had speed, and you know, it's just a matter of time before anybody that's struggled at all is going to figure it out. We've all got great organizations behind us that are pushing every day to make our race cars better. So you almost have to keep looking forward, not looking back.
Any other questions? Gentlemen, congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.